Hello honeys, Shinjou Hinaki is a character with a ton of subtext, but I've still pieced together all of her experiences and motivations. This is a thorough deep dive containing spoilers for the entire original series, including the 10th anniversary film, Starway to the Future. If that's okay with you, let's get started. Shinjou Hinaki may be the most confusing character in the original series. On the surface, she seems pretty straightforward. An experienced idol giving advice to her friends while working to overcome her negative experiences in the industry. But figuring out why she does those things has been a challenge, and based on how little I found that staff have to say about her, it seems like that was more of an oversight than an intentional choice. Regardless, let's put on our thinking hats and try to figure out what's going on with Hinaki. As always, we'll start with her upbringing. Hinaki's mother is a fashion magazine editor, and her father is a cameraman for that magazine. The two of them have extensive connections in the entertainment and fashion industries and often bring their work home with them. So it's only natural that their young daughter, Hinaki, quickly becomes enmeshed in that working environment. Reflecting on her childhood, she later says, "Seeing my parents work for their fashion magazine, I wanted one day to become famous and work alongside them." It's interesting that Hinaki picks up on fame as a requirement for working with her parents. It's not that she wants to do the same jobs as them behind the scenes. Instead, it's likely that she's focused on the people that her parents are paying attention to, the celebrities behind her father's camera lens and in the photos and interviews her mother is focused on. Those are the people she sees her parents working with, and those are the people she wants to emulate. She's motivated to earn back their attention by putting herself in their spotlight. Hinaki's parents are warm, supportive figures in her life, but they're also driven to succeed in a competitive industry. So when their 8 or 9-year-old daughter expresses an interest in working alongside them, they make sure that she's set up for success. Since they already have the resources at hand, there are no barriers between Hinaki and an entertainment career at first. Her parents let her dress up and pose for pictures, and they decide to support her new dream with an official modeling debut. They give her professional direction and try to instill a professional work ethic in her despite her age. Hinaki has no reason to doubt the guidance of her parents. When her father asks her to promise that she will put all her effort into each and everything she does, she fully internalizes that mindset. "No matter what it is, I'll be the very best I can," she tells him. But that promise becomes a burden during her first year as a child entertainer. Thanks to her family connections, Hinaki has no trouble landing modeling jobs. She starts off in photo shoots for children's clothing and gradually gets into small TV appearances. She's still early in her career, only around 9 years old, when she has a traumatic experience. During a public outdoor recording for a TV show, Hinaki is meant to run on stage and greet the audience with the host. In order to give it her best effort, Hinaki puts all of her energy into her introduction. She jumps up in excitement, slips on a puddle, and falls down. The accident immediately derails the filming session. The adults on set send her away in an ambulance just in case she's seriously hurt. But Hinaki turns out to be fine, so she focuses on getting it right the next time. A reshoot is scheduled indoors, and Hinaki already has an idea for an even grander entrance to make up for her mistake. However, as soon as she does her introduction, the shot is ruined by the panicked reactions of her co-host and the staff on set. They all fully expected her to fall again. Hinaki instantly feels embarrassed and blames herself for worrying them, for being unprofessional enough to have messed up in the first place, and for ruining her own reputation so badly that they'd all been expecting her to cause more problems. Hinaki plays the rest of the recording safe, not risking any more ad-libbing, and the shoot wraps up without issue. Since then, she later reflects, "No matter what ideas I came up with, I unconsciously ignored them." The experience puts Hinaki in a challenging position mentally. She promised her parents that she'd give everything her full effort. They taught her so much, and she had so many creative ideas thanks to their guidance. But what Hinaki learns from her slip on stage is that it's possible for her ideas to be wrong. That she could try something, cause a problem, and then be remembered as a problem. So she becomes afraid of failing, afraid of fully expressing herself, and then afraid of disappointing her parents. And the anxious cycle rapidly erodes her self-esteem. In order to cope with this loss of confidence and continue her career, she starts to prioritize other people's ideas over her own. If she can't give her own expression her full effort, she'll channel that energy into anticipating what other people want from her and delivering exactly what they're expecting. No risk, no failure, no professional repercussions. This approach still comes at a personal cost. Even when I got an idea to improve something, she later remembers, I'd think about not wanting to waste what we'd already done, or that I just bother everyone by trying to change it. I was so worried about everyone's reactions that I kept it all bottled up. Unfortunately, repressing her own self-expression is even more damaging than risking rejection. It ingrains the idea that her true self can't satisfy anyone, not her coworkers or her parents or herself. Hinaki experiences this shift as a sudden loss of passion for her work. She doesn't consider quitting, that would be like abandoning her family, so she leans on her professionalism as a coping mechanism. And it's in that demoralized mindset when she's 10 years old that she encounters some fresh inspiration. A magazine spread of the boldest, most colorful clothes she's ever seen. They're from a brand called Vivid Kiss, and Hinaki feels drawn to them. The outfits are as loud as Hinaki wishes she could be. They're creative, unconventional, and unapologetic. If Hinaki wore them, then all of the passion she'd been repressing would be clear to everyone. Without saying a word, she'd be able to reclaim some of her ideas and salvage what was left of her confidence. Hinaki knows that many designers are open to making custom, premium designs for celebrities. If the designer of Vivid Kiss made one for her, it would be the ultimate proof that she wasn't a lost cause. Hinaki quickly becomes desperate to earn this approval. She decides to meet with the designer to make her request in person, and manages to arrange a consultation with her. Hinaki does her best to prepare for the opportunity. She carefully plans her outfit, eager to prove herself as being worthy of acceptance into the fashion world. But when she tries to be as bold as she thinks the designer might want her to be, she gets nervous. It leaves too much room for her to be wrong. She decides to wear the same Vivid Kiss outfit that she sees in a magazine, just to be safe. Surely it'll show the designer how much she cares about her brand. This turns out to be another huge mistake. When she meets the designer, Kayako, the first thing she's asked for is the news about today's fashion points. Before Hinaki can even answer, Kayako continues with a critique of her outfit. She knows exactly which page of which magazine it's from, and she's not impressed. Having already disappointed her, Hinaki deflates in embarrassment. There's nothing wrong with a little imitation, Kayako reassures her. That's how you build up your own sense of fashion. It's a moment of hope, but Kayako revokes it immediately, outright refusing her request for a premium dress anyway. You're still missing a certain something, Kayako explains, but she coldly dismisses Hinaki's questions. When you figure it out, hop on back. Just like that, Hinaki's dream is dead. She has no idea what Kayako was talking about, and the entire experience had been humiliating. She put in her best effort to be what Kayako wanted, and she still hadn't been good enough. If the queen of bold, creative fashion thought she was a ripoff, then maybe it was true. Maybe it was pointless to waste her time being something she wasn't. Over the next few years, Hinaki works on autopilot. Depressingly, it seems to work even better than if she'd been passionately pursuing her ideas. Applying to the local idol school, Starlight Academy, is a no-brainer, and she quickly gets hired to work alongside the school's more senior students. Her roles on variety shows keep getting bigger, but she struggles to take any pride in them. Everyone wants the same thing from her, the same lines over and over, and she can't think of anything they'd like better. She is completely stagnating in her job as an entertainer, doomed to keep up these repetitive roles until she grows up and is all out of novelty appeal. Then, one day, Hinaki hears some gossip about a new student at Starlight. The school had held special auditions across the country judged by its top students, and one of the girls who won, Ozura Akari, had gone viral. She'd been so nervous about meeting her idol, Hoshimiya Ichigo, that she'd said, "I'm Hoshimiya Ichigo," by mistake in her audition. It's a funny story, but something about it sticks in Hinaki's mind. First of all, that kind of thing would never happen to Hinaki. She is long past her rookie days, and she hardly ever felt nervous about being in the spotlight anymore. Someone like Akari must be extremely new to the industry, and extremely fresh. She must have been so excited and passionate about meeting Ichigo that it completely took over her brain. And then after that mistake, the whole world seemed to applaud her. No hushed whispers wondering if she was okay, no rejection, no failure, just a rookie slip-up, and then instant fame. Before she knows it, Hinaki starts to feel jealous of the girl in the story. So much passion, so many fresh experiences ahead, so many qualities that Hinaki had felt forced to give up. As she goes on with her life, Akari's story becomes the embodiment of rookie appeal to Hinaki. And if Akari, a girl the same age as her, can have that much appeal, then maybe it isn't too late for Hinaki. She decides to do everything she can to find fresh inspiration to reignite her own passion. It takes 6 months, but Hinaki eventually meets Akari at school. The real one, the one who's now a Starlight Academy student just like her. Hinaki had loosely kept track of her progress, mostly through more gossip and her usual entertainment media browsing. So she's not starstruck by any means when Akari literally runs into her. She feels familiar, and Hinaki is instantly impressed by her youthful playfulness. Akari apologizes, but Hinaki is quick to praise her enthusiasm. She wants to know where Akari got the cute catchphrase she'd been shouting, but it appears that Akari thought it up on her own. Even more impressed now, Hinaki imitates her as she says goodbye and runs off to work. Yes, this is exactly the kind of youthful energy she'd been aiming for. Zooming around like a little kid, making up nonsense phrases, and energizing everyone around her. Even while she's at work, she can't stop thinking about how cute Akari had been. So when she sees her again at school that day, she makes sure to go talk to her. Right away, Hinaki feels excited. Akari is sitting with one of Hinaki's classmates, Sumire, but Hinaki hardly notices her. She's too distracted by Akari's cute nervousness. And when Sumire tells her that the two of them are roommates, she instantly feels jealous again. Maybe if she'd been paired up with Akari, she would have been able to channel even more of that elusive rookie energy. I've always been attracted to you, Akari, Hinaki confesses, and excitedly relays the initial story she'd heard about her. Akari only seems embarrassed, which is even cuter, and Hinaki tries to reassure her. Even so, Akari's continued stumbling delivery and shy responses are even more endearing. I think it's great to have something you love with all your heart, Hinaki tells her, trying to make her genuine interest clear. That kind of love fuels you. Hinaki is excited to hear that Akari will be taking the same upcoming audition as her, and then she has to leave for work again. The audition is for a crepe company's ad campaign, so she stops at one of their nearby crepe stands for research after her job wraps up. To her delight, Akari has had the same idea and already has a perfect dessert reaction locked in. Hinaki knows that Akari isn't doing it on purpose, but that's the point. Those kinds of genuine, enthusiastic impulses are hard to recreate. As she sits down to join Akari, she compliments her again. You impress me every time we meet. It's like you have this instinct. It's incredible. Awe-inspiring even. Akari doesn't get a chance to respond before Hinaki is already suggesting that they prepare for the audition together. That night, Hinaki is invited to Akari and Sumire's dorm room to teach them more about the audition requirements. She finds it hilarious that the two of them had already started practicing food reactions right away and gives them a demonstration. She waves off their generous reactions afterward and encourages them to do their best with their practice. They pick up from there the next morning, and Akari once again seems impressed with her. You really are amazing. I can hardly stop myself from eating after hearing you, she praises, and Hinaki actually takes in the compliment this time. It's a huge relief to hear that from you, she admits, and Akari brings up the stuff she'd said about not being good enough the previous day. Hinaki is surprised to be asked about it, but she decides to open up to her new friends. She explains how bored she is of her own work and how exciting Akari's story was to her in comparison. It blew me away, Hinaki says. I don't know why, but it lit a fire in my heart. Hinaki emphasizes how important Akari's passion was to that moment, and how much it motivated her to find her own passion again. Even when Akari insists that it was all just an accident, Hinaki doubles down. And that's why I love it. I realized that I had to be a little on edge if I wanted to give gripping reports. You lit a fire inside me, Akari. Thank you. Hinaki and Akari practice together all the way up to the audition, and Hinaki even lends her a hair accessory for her audition outfit. Ever since she'd heard that Akari's story, she'd started getting back into fashion. The outfits she collected helped her imagine new possibilities, and she particularly enjoyed imagining outfits for other people to wear. So when the audition arrives, she tries to imagine herself in Akari's place and channel her nervous tension. The extra excitement makes their performance more fun than usual for Hinaki, but Akari is still chosen as the winner. It's something she'd predicted, but it's still impressive to see just how important it was to be fresh and passionate in their industry. Watching Akari up close has only confirmed that hunch. Hinaki congratulates her new friend, and when they meet up with Sumire afterward, they all agree to keep training hard together. Now that they're hanging out most of the time, Hinaki gets invested in Akari's progress as an idol. The more she watches her, the more excited she gets about her potential. Akari is so free of self-doubt, so eager to please, and so adorably naive. Hinaki can't help but see her younger self in Akari, and she can't help wanting to see her new friend succeed in ways she couldn't. When Akari gets nervous about the crepe company gig, Hinaki jumps in to reassure her with the same advice she wished she could give herself. They chose you above everyone else, and they chose you because they wanted you to be yourself. Then she gives Akari some training advice and gathers reference materials for her, things that her parents had done for her when she was starting out. But as she helps Akari, Hinaki starts to realize how differently they approach their work. Ever since that traumatic mistake, Hinaki had mostly just followed the instructions of the adults around her. Akari takes in what Hinaki tells her and then combines that input with her own ideas for something new. Hinaki starts to compliment her on it and then gets embarrassed when she realizes how insecure she might sound in comparison. Still, Hinaki tries to push through those fears and be honest with Akari, but a schedule notification cuts her off, and her need to be professional overrides her desire to be more authentic as she immediately runs off to avoid being late for work. It makes her feel even worse about herself on her commute. All she can think about is how much better Akari is than her, blindingly bright with passion you only get when you first debut. When she gets to work, the monotony of it all is more palpable than ever. She'd been asked to choose the song and styling for a PR performance, and the staff seem happy with her choice. They call her relatively safe outfit and song choices bold, which drives home just how off-base her original idea had been. Right when she's beating herself up over that close call, she gets a surprise visit from Akari and Sumire. Hinaki, sensing something actually exciting, is eager to know if Akari's photo shoot went well. Of course it did. "I couldn't have done it without you," Akari says. "I just followed my inspiration like during practice and it was a piece of cake." Hinaki is once again struck by the distance between their mindsets. Veteran burnout versus rookie passion. "I'm realizing all over again how much I like your attitude," Hinaki finally says, complimenting Akari on her bold approach to her work. Akari insists that it's not that impressive, so Hinaki doubles down again. Akari was underselling herself, not fully understanding what a blessing it was to be so new to everything at an age where so many others were already fading. "I'm sure your power comes from how long it took to make your big break." At that moment, Hinaki decides to try pretending again. Pretending that she's as fresh and naive as Akari still, a true rookie. She decides to emulate Akari's approach and suggests her original outfit and song idea to the staff at the last minute. To gather her courage, she explains her traumatic experience to Akari and Sumire, both to show why she's so serious about Akari's potential, and to remind herself of how much she needs to change. "It's me who needs to act more like myself. All I'm doing now is giving the staff peace of mind by acting how I think they want me to," he concludes. She reminds herself that Akari had taken a long time to become an idol, and the rejection she'd faced hadn't stopped her from eventually getting her big break. So maybe, even if Hinaki made another mistake that day, it wouldn't stop her either. "You gave me the strength to effervesce again," she tells Akari. It's still a scary idea though, and Hinaki isn't sure that she'll be able to go through with it. That is until Akari shows her the photo shoot poses she came up with, and Hinaki gets the push she'd been looking for. Akari's ideas had paid off, and her photos look great. Hinaki imagines herself in Akari's place, in her original outfit choice, performing the original song she chose, succeeding in her original creative vision. She lets that momentum carry her back to the staff room and is elated when they actually accept her last-minute changes. Hinaki goes on stage feeling more passionate than she'd been in a long time, and afterwards the staff praise her for her decision. "Thank you for believing in me," she tells them, and then her parents arrive to give her even more approval. "Hina, you seem different," her dad says. "You look like you're on cloud 9. Did something nice happen?" Hinaki is proud to say yes and introduce them to her new friends. The next month, Hinaki is excited to see another friend show up at Starlight Academy, an old one from back in her childhood modeling days. Kurobayashi Juri had worked with her in a few photo shoots when she was younger, but then had apparently quit and disappeared from the industry. Hinaki remembered her as a sweet mama's girl, but the Juri at Starlight was nothing like her former self. Juri transfers to Starlight just in time to take a drama audition that Hinaki and her friends are also participating in. So Hinaki sees her dramatic entrance, new competitive attitude, and advanced acting skills up close. Even outside of the audition training room, Juri's overwhelming passion dominates every ordinary interaction. Juri's mother was a famous actress, so Hinaki isn't too surprised to see her so serious about acting. But she is a little shocked when Juri rejects her offer to catch up, and then seems genuinely upset about comments from other students. Later that day, Hinaki catches Juri practicing for the audition alone, but Juri ignores her again. It makes Hinaki feel worried about her, and she starts to wonder why Juri has returned to the industry if it seems to make her so unhappy. The next day is the audition, and Juri's mother shows up to support her. Hinaki notices that Juri doesn't seem to have greeted her yet, so she takes the initiative to let her know that she's there. But Juri implies that she's purposely ignoring her mother, and Hinaki feels a little proud of her. It's true that a real professional would focus on the audition ahead rather than rely on her parent for support. "I just want to earn this role with my own skill," Juri defends herself, and Hinaki understands what she means. It'd be bad for Juri's career if she was seen as benefiting too much from her family connections. Sensing an explanation for her disappearance, Hinaki asks if Juri quit because she started receiving that kind of criticism. but Juri insisted it was her own decision to focus on training until she felt ready to work again. That's a decision Hinaki admires. After a pep talk from Akari, Juri opens up a little more, and Hinaki is happy to see her picked for the drama's lead role. It's still a little disappointing to fail, but she can't deny that Juri had earned it through pure skill. Here was another path Hinaki hadn't taken, a conscious choice to step back and improve in private rather than publicly flounder in a stagnating role. As soon as Hinaki starts to compare herself to her old friend though, Juri does something unexpected. Even as a relatively advanced actress, Juri is unhappy with her own performances. It's a sentiment that Hinaki instantly connects with. She suggests that she and her friends help Juri practice, but Juri clearly can't stand the embarrassment of failing to live up to her own expectations. She criticizes herself more harshly than even Hinaki is comfortable with. So when Juri says she wants to travel in search of a designer she thinks will inspire her, Hinaki and her friends insist on going with her for support. When they finally find him, Hinaki is worried because he seems significantly different than what Juri had been expecting. But Juri insists on believing in him, and Hinaki is impressed by the length she goes to inspire him. Her eventual success proves to Hinaki that Juri's passion is as effective as it is aspirational. Another month passes, and a new opportunity pushes Hinaki to take another step forward. She, Akari, and Sumire sign up to perform in Starlight Academy's Christmas concert, and both of her friends will be wearing their new premium dresses. They've each had to earn the approval of their favorite designers in order to receive them, and Hinaki sees another way in which she is failing to keep up. One of the opportunities they all shared recently was a chance to work alongside one of the current top idol groups, Soleil. Their seniors were a trio of best friends who worked together in perfect harmony. Hinaki knows that she, Akari, and Sumire all share a desire to follow their example, so she feels motivated to catch up to her friends with a premium dress of her own. The only problem is that Hinaki is still devoted to Vivid Kiss and the designer who'd already rejected her once before. Facing her again seems like a monumental challenge. Hinaki asks one of her seniors and co-workers, Arisugawa Otome, for advice after work one day. She doesn't exactly get any new information from her, but she receives the push she'd been looking for. With enough effort, surely she'll be able to succeed this time. Akari and Sumire go with Hinaki to request that the school's headmistress arrange another Vivid Kiss consultation for Hinaki. But after Hinaki explains her history with the designer, the headmistress has a different suggestion. She recommends that Hinaki attend Kayako's studio party the next day. Attendance is open to anyone who passes the dress code check, so if Hinaki really feels confident in being able to impress her, it'll be her best opportunity to ask for a premium dress. Hinaki agrees to give it a try right away. Her friends help her shop for an outfit, and Hinaki comes up with a plan to make an even bigger impact at the party. She picks outfits for her friends as well, planning to show off her passion as a stylist, and hypes herself up on the ferry ride to the venue the next day. When they arrive, Kayako is manning the door and personally evaluating her guests. Surrounded by fashionable adults, Hinaki feels forced to be as bold as possible. As soon as she steps off the boat, she's strutting down the dock like it's a runway. She locks eyes with Kayako at the end and recognizes the challenge in her expression. Hinaki puts her plan into action with a full presentation. Calling back to the fashion points Kayako had once asked her for, she presents herself and her friends. Point 1 is flair, point 2 is fun to wear, and point 3 is friendship. It's all going well until Hinaki slips on a puddle and falls down, dragging both Akari and Sumire with her. Even worse, they knock over a table and are covered in grape juice stains. But even though the incident is nearly identical to the one that caused her initial trauma, Hinaki is more in control of the situation this time. Rather than being swarmed by worried adults, she quickly improvises a solution for their ruined outfits and stands up to reassert herself. What I was lacking back then was a fashion all my own, Hinaki proclaims, eager to prove that she has figured it out, just like Kayako initially requested. No more imitation from now on, I'm gonna make every day a blast with Shinjou Hinaki's own personal fashion. When the three of them finally reach Kayako for their evaluation, she praises them enthusiastically. Hinaki is satisfied with being accepted into the party, but Kayako stops her on her way in. She wants Hinaki to perform for all the guests, and Hinaki recognizes the opportunity she's being given. An opportunity to prove herself as being worthy of that premium dress she'd once asked for. She's nervous about it, but she puts on her favorite Vivid Kiss outfit and gives it her best effort. To her relief, Kayako approaches her afterward with an offer for a brand new premium dress, just in time for the Christmas concert. The dress is delivered while Hinaki is practicing with her friends, and after some pre-concert shenanigans, they're all admiring the results of their hard work. Hinaki has improved so much that over the following New Year holiday, she starts to aim for a new resolution. She's torn between focusing on the variety shows she's been gaining traction in and her more fashion-oriented work. In the process of helping Akari prepare for an unexpected weather forecaster audition, Hinaki finds the motivation to aim for an unexpected direction of her own. She decides to commit to her main passion and takes an audition to become an exclusive model for a teen fashion magazine. Around the same time that Akari debuts on her new weather segment, Hinaki receives word that she's passed her audition too. She's proud to tell her friends the news, and they're extremely supportive of her new dream. Hinaki continues to make progress through the end of the school year. She's honored to receive a surprise gift from Kayako in the form of a new dress, she gets her first drama role in a Starlight Academy special, and she competes in the school's ultimate competition, the Starlight Queen Cup. She and her friends are eliminated in the first round, but the experience gives them a newfound respect for the title. Only the top student can be crowned queen, and it's considered to be a highly prestigious position. Full of inspiration for future goals, Hinaki and her friends enjoy their spring break while trying to embrace a more competitive spirit. Hinaki has never truly felt competitive about work before, so the idea of competing against her close friends in the Starlight Queen Cup is hard to wrap her head around. Sure, they've competed in auditions before, but they were clearly nowhere near competitive enough to become the queen. The three of them decide to treat each other as rivals in order to help close that gap. With the start of a new school year comes a class of new students, and all the second years receive new first years to mentor. Hinaki loves the experience, but soon enough it's back to business as usual. Hinaki gets a chance to appear on a popular variety show with Akari and Sumire, then Sumire's new duo unit with a first year student, Rin, sets Juri off on a hunt for her own partner. Juri is extremely passionate in her search, boldly proposing to every girl that catches her eye. Hinaki thinks it's great that she's so trusting of her instincts, but Juri hasn't had any luck getting someone to actually join her. I want to form a unit with someone just as different from me and show off an unseen side of myself up on the stage, Juri explains, and Hinaki can see her vision. Fresh and unexpected. This sounds super interesting. Hinaki volunteers to help Juri find a partner right away and gets to work helping her pitch herself to other students. When they still struggle to find someone, Hinaki notices Juri's growing disappointment and tries to reframe their rejections more positively. What about you, Juri? Was there any girl you clicked with? Unfortunately, no one seems to fit her criteria all that strongly anyway. Juri seems to recover quickly, so Hinaki does her best to encourage her before Akari interrupts with a question. If you had to pick one of us, who would you want to partner with? Juri only seems confused. I'm always with you and Hinaki, and in a way, you're kind of already my partners. I'd never really considered making a unit with you before. Akari then suggests that Juri specifically try imagining herself in a unit with Hinaki, which Hinaki is confused by. It's not as if she fit the fresh and new approach that Juri was looking for, but it does make sense to use her as an example of what Juri doesn't want, so Hinaki encourages Juri to imagine the two of them together as well. After thinking for a moment, Juri describes their imaginary unit as being like a bull and a matador. She describes the feeling of charging at Hinaki and being gracefully dodged, and Hinaki instantly sees what she's going for. So you're looking for a unit where you can passionately butt heads with your partner, she asks, and Juri agrees. Hinaki encourages the idea, and it feels like the two of them are making good progress when Akari and their new first-year friend, Madoka, suggest that the two of them pair up. They insist that only Hinaki could have possibly understood what Juri was going for, and that they felt that way for a while. Hinaki isn't so sure. When she looks at Juri, she sees the same confusion on her face. It's true that I feel really comfortable around Hinaki, Juri says, and Hinaki agrees. I feel just as comfortable around you, but since we're always together, she continues, wouldn't that kind of negate the freshness Juri wants? Juri voices the same concern, but Akari insists that the contrast between their personalities is enough to be appealing. When she thinks of it that way, Hinaki starts to see what Akari means. It's true that between Juri's passion and Hinaki's eagerness to please, they had significant differences in their approach to work. Juri seems to feel the same, so Hinaki thinks out loud. We've been friends since forever, so I didn't even consider that we could form a fresh and unexpected unit. And yet, being wrong never felt so good. Juri agrees with the sentiment too. I never would have guessed that the unexpected partner for the unit I envisioned could have been this close to me. Suddenly feeling shy, Hinaki formally asks if Juri would like to get together for a new unit. Of course she says yes. As they shake hands, they share the sentiment that no matter what kind of unit they end up as, It's sure to be a lot of fun. Hinaki and Juri quickly begin training for their unit debut, and Juri comes up with their new name, Passion Jalapeno. They apply for a special concert to announce it and officially begin their activities, and before they know it, they're standing backstage preparing to go on together. I'm way more nervous than I've ever been for a drama or movie filming, Juri confesses, so Hinaki reassures her. Don't you worry, after all, you're not alone anymore. I'm here with you. When Juri smiles back at her, Hinaki holds her hand to give her one last bit of encouragement. I really like it, the unit name you came up with. With that praise, Juri finally seems to regain her confidence. I want to make our unit the hottest in the world. Let's go give a performance as hot as our name. After they perform, Hinaki is completely swept up in Juri's passion. They wave at the crowd briefly before Juri takes her hands and repeats her goal. Our unit will be the hottest. They exchange their signature handshake and then share one last embrace before turning to wave to the audience again. It's hard to imagine a more perfect debut. Passion Jalapeno quickly becomes popular with the public, and Hinaki and Juri get to work developing promotion ideas and encouraging each other to try new things. Madoka and Akari form their own duo unit shortly after, and it seems like things are going well for all of their friends. Hinaki personally feels motivated to catch up to Sumire and Rin's success with their unit, Dancing Diva. She gets the opportunity to pursue that goal directly with a new competition, Starlight Academy's Unit Cup. Hinaki and all of her friends participate, and Passion Jalapeno is even randomly selected to perform first. But they end up placing 4th behind everyone else. Hinaki can't help feeling demoralized by the loss, even with Juri's optimistic encouragement. She's still feeling bad about it a few weeks later when Passion Jalapeno receives a new job offer. The gig is for an image girl position at the Mexico booth for that year's Spice Festival. Hinaki had just been telling Juri about how much she feels like she's changed since the two of them got together, and now she has a chance to prove it. As soon as they arrive at the booth and meet its owner, Jose, Hinaki starts to feel inspired. The menu looks perfect for a fusion collaboration with Juri's father, a famous Spanish chef. Not to mention the spicy donuts that she and Juri have been developing with the school's pastry chef. And the mascot costume they've commissioned would work even better as a pair to show off the red and green jalapeno varieties featured at the booth. Jose says that they want people to experience the jalapeno up close and personal, and what could be better at that than handing out jalapeno seedlings for people to cultivate in their own gardens? But with so many ideas and so little time, Hinaki gets cold feet about actually suggesting anything. Jose and Juri both notice her hesitation though and encourage her to share her thoughts. So Hinaki decides to go for it. She successfully pitches the collaboration with Juri's father, and then is encouraged to share all of her other ideas too. Jose loves them so much that he officially invites them to pivot from being image girls to production staff ahead of the festival. After so many wins in a row, Hinaki is on fire. Even when Juri seems satisfied that they've done their best, Hinaki wants to keep going. She wants to make good on their original role of being image girls by giving the Mexico booth the best performance possible. And for that, she decides to visit Kayako and request another new premium dress. Luckily, Kayako has a dress nearly finished when Hinaki visits her the next day. She says it's lacking some real spice and invites Hinaki to critique it. The design is based on the character of Peter Pan, and Hinaki reflects that she couldn't imagine a better Peter Pan dress. Still, she tries her best to think of what she would add to improve the character reference and is inspired by her own denim jacket. Kayako encourages Hinaki again, but she still feels nervous. I think your premium dress is splendid as is. It's possible that when the lively and innocent Peter Pan mixes with Vivid Kiss, free of all traditional norms, it could even make us reconsider what a fairy tale really is. Hinaki then suggests the denim jacket, and Kayako loves the idea. It fits his naughtiness to a T and is crazy fresh. Thanks, Hinaki, you'll get my best dress yet for your concert. When she talks about the meeting with her friends that night, Hinaki explains that her newfound courage is something she's still getting used to. She thanks Akari and Sumire for inspiring her initially, and then turns to Juri. Above all else, the one who changed me the most was you. You're true to yourself all the time, no matter where you are, and I love how you put your hot emotions on display. Hinaki reminds Juri of how optimistic she managed to be after their unit cup loss, but Juri turns the compliment back on her. Your experience in the industry is your greatest strength, she tells Hinaki. Nobody has as many ideas as you do about how to entertain your fans. That's your weapon that nobody can replicate. No one had ever phrased it like that to Hinaki, and she suddenly feels even more grateful for Juri's support. The next day at the festival, Hinaki and Juri put their all into promoting the Mexico booth. They execute every one of Hinaki's ideas, and Kayako arrives with a new dress just in time for their performance. Hinaki is feeling so confident that she takes the initiative to pick a matching outfit for Juri right then and there. She styles her after Wendy, Peter Pan's perfect foil, and the performance is a huge success. The Mexico booth wins that year's popularity award, and Jose gives full credit to Passion Jalapeno for all of their hard work. It's only a little over a month later, after a fun-filled summer with her friends, that Hinaki experiences a significant setback. The result announcement for a special promotional idol group puts Hinaki and her friends on edge. The public has had a month to vote for their favorite idols, and now the top 8 will form the unit Aikatsu 8 and embark on a national tour together. Several of their seniors are almost guaranteed to get in, so Hinaki is expecting competition to be tough. But she'd wanted to aim for it anyway, and Passion Jalapeno had been on fire recently, so a small part of her believes that she might just have a chance. Getting into Aikatsu 8 would be a massive push toward her goal of becoming truly famous. She'd be touring stadiums across Japan, getting her name and face out there, and promoting alongside the country's most popular idols. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for anyone stuck on the fringes of true celebrityhood. Hinaki tries to play it cool the day before the announcement. "No matter what goes down, I'm just excited to see," she claims to Akari and Sumire that morning. But at the actual announcement venue the next evening, her nerves start to get the better of her as they approach the end of the lineup. The first 6 girls had practically been a given, but the last 2 spots could go to a lot of different people. Sumire is called to claim one of them, and Hinaki is of course happy for her. When Akari is called to be the final member, Hinaki is happy for her too. How could she not be? Her friends have just done something incredible. She watches the 2 of them join the group on stage, trying to hold on to that feeling of pride. Juri shakes her out of it for a moment. "They're incredible, but they're still nowhere as hot as we are." "Maybe not," Hinaki agrees, not quite able to match Juri's optimism. The surprise announcement of a new competition for 3-person units is exciting though, so at least that's something to look forward to. Akari and Sumire leave to begin their Aikatsu 8 tour right away, but they still get downtime at school between stops. Hinaki is admiring their success in a news broadcast when her friends approach her one morning. They ask her if she wants to join them for the 3-person unit competition, the Great Starlight School Festival. Hinaki feels honored that they still see her as good enough to be at their level, so she agrees right away. "The second I heard that we need a 3-person unit," Akari says, "you 2 were the first ones to come to mind." Sumire says she thought the same thing, so Hinaki proudly says she thought of them too. But she feels conflicted as she reflects on their new partnership later that day, and when Juri shows up to offer her a drink, she gets a chance to process it all a little more. Juri is supportive of Hinaki's decision to join Sumire and Akari, but that doesn't do much to put Hinaki at ease. Juri reassures her that she still has plenty of faith in Passion Jalapeno, and that the variety in their matchups will be good for them and their fans. Hinaki still feels lost in thought. Juri even says she's thinking of making her own trio unit with Madoka and Rin to compete in the competition, and Hinaki says she can't wait to see how it turns out. In the face of collaboration with her friends and rivals, Hinaki can't latch on to any of Juri's passion. But she does understand that Juri is clearly worried about her, so she tries to convince her that everything is fine. "Don't worry, I'm not down on myself if that's what you were thinking. I really was frustrated that I didn't make it into the Aikatsu 8. It came as a shock. Seeing as how Akari and Sumire were chosen, I wasn't sure that I was good enough to be in a unit with them." Hinaki knows that she has to find a way forward if she's going to make this a positive shift for both herself and Juri, not to mention Akari and Sumire, so she tries to find a silver lining. "But no more, it's exactly because I wasn't chosen that I'm pumped and ready to go. I'm going to take my passionate Aikatsu to the next level." Hinaki makes a show of being extra fired up for Juri before running off to work. She decides to jog to her photo shoot location, part of her new self-improvement commitment. She'll get stronger, check out street fashion on the way there, and do an even better job than usual. Then she'll do extra training at school, shadow Juri on set for one of her dramas to start improving at acting, and brainstorm a new unit name. She'll work so hard that she won't even have time to think about how much fresher and more popular Akari and Sumire are than her. Both Kayako and Starlight Academy's headmistress are attending that day's photo shoot, so Hinaki makes extra sure to be on her A-game. She gets praise from the staff, so things seem to go well. But later that day, she still gets a call to go back to the studio for retakes. retakes specifically requested by Kayako. Just the thought of having messed up any of her photos shatters Hinaki's confidence. When she gets back to the shoot, Hinaki has already decided to apologize and do an even better job this time. But when she talks to Kayako, it turns out that nothing is wrong after all. "What are you saying? They were great," she exclaims. "The best I've ever seen." All the staff chime in with even more praise, and Hinaki is confused. "I couldn't help but get greedy," Kayako continues before revealing a brand new dress she's made just for Hinaki. It's adorable and totally fresh. Kayako explains that she'd been so inspired by Hinaki's photos that day that she'd had one more dress made for her new collection. Hinaki loves it and is eager to wear it for the extra photos. Thanks to that reassurance, she's able to get through the next few days of debut training, singing practice, acting lessons, and pre-debut promotions. Hinaki, Akari, and Sumire are still stumped on a unit name before their debut concert. It's only thanks to a call from Akari that Hinaki finally finds inspiration for one. Akari shows them a giant billboard featuring Hinaki's new Vivid Kiss photos, and Hinaki looks up at it as she starts to hear people on the street talking about her. People who recognize her, who are fans of her, and who look to her for fashion news. It reminds her that even if she's not fully caught up to her friends, she's still well on her way to achieving her fashion icon goals. "Did all my work pay off?" she asks out loud, and Akari eagerly encourages her. "Hinaki, you're shining." Sumire agrees. "Yeah, as bright as a star." Finally feeling more confident, Hinaki suggests Luminous as their unit name, a name to represent that shining quality, their shared desire to stand out in perfect harmony just like the trio they all look up to, Soleil. On the day of their debut, Kayako pays Hinaki a surprise visit on her way to the concert venue. She's cleared her schedule just for the event, which Hinaki feels very grateful for. Hinaki explains how much their last photo shoot had meant to her, and then Kayako surprises her. "I'll be needing you as well, my muse." Hinaki hadn't been expecting such an important title, but Kayako continues. "Whenever I talk to you, new ideas keep bursting forth. Hinaki, you are my muse, my goddess of creativity." It's a huge honor to be named as a designer's muse, and as a huge fan of Kayako's work, it's incredibly validating for Hinaki to learn that the feeling of inspiration is mutual. Touched, Hinaki can only thank her earnestly before Akari and Sumire call her to head into the venue. Her gratitude cuts through her insecurity and lets her get truly excited about the performance ahead. She'll look amazing in her new dress, and she'll be debuting both as a Luminous member and a Vivid Kiss muse. With such a monumental milestone conquered, Hinaki is pumped up for the Great Starlight School Festival. The event will take place over multiple days, and as the lineup is announced, Hinaki talks with her senior co-star, Otome, about her unit's plans. Popo Purin is already a 3-person unit, so hypothetically a competition appearance should be a no-brainer for them. But Hinaki is shocked to learn that one of their members, Shion, is double booked with a film shoot on their performance date. And even more shockingly, Otome is completely confident that it won't be a problem. Shion apparently promised to give both opportunities her best effort, and Otome has no reason to doubt her. In fact, Otome is determined to work just as hard as Shion. Hinaki feels inspired by their work ethic and comes up with a plan to support Shion in her acting role to guarantee that she'll make it back in time for the competition. Shion is training deep in the mountains, so Hinaki embarks on a long mission to bring her some extra supplies. The journey almost proves to be too difficult for her when she suddenly spots Shion in the wilderness. Shion brings Hinaki to her cabin to rest, but rejects the supplies that Hinaki worked so hard to deliver. The point of her training was to immerse herself in her rugged ninja character, authentic diet and exercise included. Hinaki is worried about her at first. Her food supplies look pretty sparse, but Shion insists that she needs to stick to her method acting. Hinaki decides to voice her concerns more directly. She asks Shion if she is sure she'll be able to make it to the competition along with her unit members, and Shion honestly answers that she doesn't know. "All I can do is try to make that slight possibility real," Shion admits, and Hinaki is struck by her dedication again. "What pushes you to devote yourself this much?" she asks. The answer is simple. "Well, there's only one thing I can say. Because I have to. I don't want to live in Otome and Sakura's shadow." Hinaki instantly makes the connection. Otome and Sakura were the previous and current Starlight Queens, literal Starlight Academy royalty. Shion had avoided that kind of spotlight to focus on her career as an actress. Hinaki can empathize with her desire to push herself as far as possible to justify that decision and keep up with her unit members. Hinaki is still thinking about the conversation when she finally makes it back to school. She knew exactly what it felt like to be intimidated by her partners, even if they were also friends. She knew how crushing it could be to fall behind, run out of steam, and be forced to play catch-up forever. But for Shion, that weight must be even heavier. And if she found a way out through sheer dedication and hard work, then maybe Hinaki could as well. Maybe it was okay if Akari and Sumire really were better than her. On the day of Popo Appearance competition appearance, Shion is late, but manages to make a dramatic entrance and save the performance. When Luminous goes to speak with them afterwards, Shion says that everything worked out thanks to her extensive training. "I was able to pull through when I thought about you waiting for me," Shion says to her group members, and Hinaki shares a smile with Akari and Sumire. She'll definitely have to do her best on behalf of the two of them as well. As the competition continues, Juri forms her own unit with Monika and Rin like she'd said she wanted, and Hinaki is happy that she'll be competing too. Luminous are assigned to perform on the last day alongside the event organizers, Soleil themselves, and Hinaki starts to get nervous again. They've been trying to perfect their performance for days, and they still can't get the details down. Hinaki doubts that they'll be able to beat Soleil given their perfect teamwork, but it also seems unlikely that they'll be able to beat TriStar, another senior idol group. Akari is set on training with that goal in mind though, so Hinaki tries to channel her optimism. They train relentlessly but get nowhere. Deep down, Hinaki starts to make peace with the fact that their partnership can still hold value even if they don't achieve their ambitious goal. Akari is determined to convince them that even if they're not succeeding, they're still making progress, so Hinaki puts her doubts aside for her friend's sake. Sure enough, they do eventually get their performance down just in time for their turn to compete. Soleil wishes them luck backstage, and then they put all their training to use in their perfected performance. They do a lot better than Hinaki expected. First, they're ranked in the top 5, which is cause for celebration enough. Shockingly, Juri's unit places 5th. Hinaki knew that the other 3 units in the top 5 were made up of senior idols, but after all the trouble Luminous went through, she'd been expecting Juri's group to place higher than them. 4th place is announced, and then 3rd, and the Luminous members are all shocked to be in the running for 1st place. They've somehow managed to beat even TriStar. Just when they start to feel like they have a chance at winning the whole thing, Luminous are announced as the 2nd place unit. Hinaki still can't believe they've made it that far. Sure, she acknowledges that their performance had felt great in their closing speech, and she's extremely happy about the result, but it forces her into a completely new understanding of her potential. A potential that's inextricably tied to her partnership with Akari and Sumire. After their near victory as Luminous, Hinaki becomes fixated on doing more with the group. Akari and Sumire feel the same way, and they're eager to find ways to continue growing. Ways to surpass Soleil through any metric possible. The 3 of them conclude that the secret to Soleil's success must be their relationships with each other. If they hadn't all met and pushed each other to improve, they wouldn't be the powerhouse unit that they are today. So, in the same vein, the 3 of them must continue to meet people who push them to improve. Inspired by a fortune-telling session guiding them to find wonderful encounters on a journey, Luminous starts to plan a national tour of their own. They want to travel the country, meeting other idols, gaining fresh inspiration, and promoting themselves to new audiences. In a flurry of activity, they get their proposal approved by the school, have ample help from their other friends in planning the trip, and set off on a brand new adventure. The tour ends up being a lot of fun, but Hinaki mostly finds herself sitting back and enjoying their new experiences. They still travel back and forth between school and their tour stops, but it's hard for Hinaki to focus on anything in particular with so much activity. It's only when the tour finally wraps up on Christmas that Hinaki can get serious about her goals again. The Starlight Queen Cup is once again on the horizon, scheduled for the end of the school year that spring, and after her extensive activities with Luminous, Hinaki feels like she has a chance. She's been working all over the country alongside 2 of Starlight Academy's most popular students, so surely she must have gained some kind of competitive edge. Once the competition is officially announced for the year, Hinaki starts getting media attention right away. She makes her intentions to earn the Starlight Queen title clear, telling an interviewer, "I want to become the Starlight Queen in order to become more famous. Once I'm famous, a lot of new opportunities will open up to me. I want to expand my activities beyond performances, TV shows, and modeling. Then I can be a queen who brings fun to everyone." Even though she's back at school full-time now, Hinaki spends most of her time with Sumire and Akari. She needs them if she's going to push herself into higher and higher levels of competition like the Starlight Queen Cup demands. Sumire's declaration of focusing on her vocals for the performance is intimidating enough, but then Sumire quickly becomes the public's predicted winner. It's a challenge that Hinaki takes extremely seriously. Hinaki receives compliments left and right for her enthusiasm for the contest, but none of it feels like enough to make her a winner. She decides to put herself ahead of the pack by getting a new premium dress from Kayako, and luckily the designer is happy to make her one. Kayako invites Hinaki to participate in the concepting process and suggests that they meet one of her other clients, Natsuki Mikuru, for inspiration. Mikuru is a senior idol known for being famous in the gardening world, as well as for being the former partner of top idol Kanzaki Mizuki. She's back in Japan after winning a huge gardening competition, and Kayako and Hinaki are just in time to catch one of her concerts. When Kayako introduces her to Hinaki backstage, Hinaki is a little nervous to meet her. But Mikuru has already heard all about her from her fashion work, and she's happy to help out with their inspiration search. The three of them head out into town for ideas, but even though they all have a ton of fun together, they can't land on anything specific. Sensing their shared desire to spend more time together, Mikuru suggests that they hold a design retreat at Kayako's seaside cottage. That way, they can really focus on coming up with a good design. Kayako loves the idea, so they all meet up the next day for an overnight stay at the cottage. Thanks to a scheduling mishap and Mikuru's ingenuity, the retreat ends up as the focus of a foreign documentary featuring Vivid Kiss. Hinaki does her best to be as professional as possible throughout the filming. She listens intently to Kayako's interviews, shares her ideas clearly, and puts her all into modeling their design prototypes. But by the end of the day, she's still left feeling like it's not enough. Hinaki believes in the work they did that day. She believes that her dress will be incredible and will bring her even closer to becoming the Starlight Queen. The only thing left on her mind is her ability to use it properly to actually surpass Akari and Sumire as a performer. She zeroes in on whether or not she'll be able to pull off a fever appeal, a special technique that Akari and Sumire have both mastered. Just as Hinaki starts to seriously question her chances of winning, standing alone on the deck that night, Mikuru arrives to check on her. "Come on, you can tell me anything," she says, so Hinaki tells her everything that's on her mind. "You've given me a lot of invaluable advice, and Kayako is creating my dress. But then I got to thinking about what I'd do if I still couldn't do a fever appeal," Hinaki admits. Mikuru has an answer ready to go. The thing about flowers is that they bloom only as beautifully as you care for them. Their beauty comes from the effort you put in. On the other hand, if you're unable to make them bloom, you start regretting why you didn't try harder. Mikuru explains her own experiences with that kind of regret, but she pushes past Hinaki's concerned reaction. The thing is, after thinking and thinking and thinking some more, I realized something. No matter how much I struggle, what I'm capable of isn't going to change. What's important isn't whether you can use a fever appeal or not, or whether you become the Starlight Queen or not. It's when all's said and done whether you're left with any regrets or not, I think. Mikuru asks Hinaki to reflect on whether she has any regrets of her own, and Hinaki tries to think of something. Some mistake, or a flaw, or a moment where she hadn't been trying her absolute best. But she can only think of how hard she'd worked alongside Sumire and Akari. Just like Shion with her unit members, Hinaki had done everything she could to catch up to her friends. "I don't regret a single thing," she tells Mikuru, and Mikuru seems pleased. "Then go wild and leave nothing behind. Paint the Starlight Queen canvas in your own color. I'll lend you a hand." With Mikuru's full understanding and support, Hinaki feels emboldened. She spots the open paint cans that Kayako had left outside in preparation for a new mural, and decides to try painting one herself. It's a huge risk and a significant test of the trust between herself and her most important supporter, but it's what Mikuru had just encouraged her to do. The two of them stay up all night painting, and even when the sun comes up, Hinaki finds herself suddenly nervous about revealing it. Luckily, Kayako loves the mural. In fact, it's the final piece of inspiration Kayako had been looking for to finish Hinaki's dress. While Kayako gets to work, Mikuru helps Hinaki train some more for the competition. She's right there with her when it's finally completed, and both Mikuru and Kayako are in the audience when Hinaki debuts the dress in a performance. With her confidence boosted, she pulls off the fever appeal that she'd been so worried about. And as a final cherry on top, the Vivid Kiss documentary leads to a sudden boom in Hinaki's global popularity. Her path to becoming Starlight Queen suddenly seems clearer than ever. Since the Starlight Queen Cup is open to the entire student body, it takes place over 3 full days of performances. The Luminous members are assigned to the final 3 slots on the final day, making them the finale of the entire competition. Hinaki will be third to last. Meanwhile, juries are assigned to perform on the first day. She ends up becoming the leading participant, taking first place by the end of day 1. Hinaki makes sure to find and congratulate her later that night and is surprised to see her practicing for a drama role out in the school courtyard. But as they talk, they both realize that neither of them are all that nervous about the competition. Not enough to derail their usual work anyway. It just goes to show that we've matured as idols, Hinaki says proudly before they descend into affectionate bickering, just like old times. Jury is still number 1 by the end of day 2, and Hinaki spends that night training with Akari and Sumire in preparation for their performances the next day. She makes sure to head back in time to rest before bed and is promptly visited by Jury. Or, more accurately, is awkwardly stared at by Jury. Hinaki notices that something is off about her, but she gives her a chance to get comfortable before bringing it up. When Jury just keeps staring at her though, she voices Jury's thoughts for her. "How are you doing?" That's what you wanted to say, right? Jury is embarrassed to have been read so easily, so Hinaki teases her a little to get her to open up. "I really didn't want to disturb you before your performance tomorrow, but I couldn't help but worry," Jury admits. "I want to talk to you too," Hinaki reassures her. "Everything else aside, you're the idol closest to becoming the Starlight Queen right now." That reminder gets Jury to loosen up a little more, and the two of them exchange encouragement before Jury heads off to bed. As soon as she leaves, a good luck bouquet arrives from Mikuru. The note attached to it reads, "Hinaki, tomorrow's your time to shine. Please accept this humble encouragement from your big sis as a reward for all your hard work. In flower language, the gladiolus means victory, and the strelitzia symbolizes a queen's radiance." Hinaki is able to go to sleep that night knowing that she has the full support of friends new and old, and she faces the competition the next morning with a sense of purpose. She, Akari, and Sumire meet up to wait in their green room. They have a long time to wait as the closing acts, so they mostly focus on keeping calm individually. When Hinaki's turn finally arrives, her friends wish her luck. "I'm gonna kick the Queen Cup up a notch with my signature smile," Hinaki promises, and then she heads backstage to go on standby. As she looks at her new premium dress, the result of all her hard work with Kayako and Mikuru, Hinaki makes another promise to herself. "I can hear the pounding of my heart. Being an idol is so much fun. I'm gonna go wild out there." Hinaki puts everything she has into her performance, and soon all that's left is the scoring stage. The board updates and the top 5 list moves down, placing Hinaki right at the top, ahead of Jury, in first place. If she can hold on to this position through Akari's and Sumire's performances, she'll officially become the Starlight Queen. "I did it," she celebrates and waves to the audience. "Thank you, everyone." Hinaki passes Sumire in the hallway on her way back to the green room and gives her a high five for good luck. But it's only a few minutes later when the unthinkable happens, and Sumire falls in the middle of her own performance. It's a terrible mistake to make on such an important stage, and Hinaki is immediately concerned about her. All she can do is return to the audience once Akari is called for standby. Hinaki takes her place alongside Jury in the crowd, and they both watch Akari's performance intently. When Sumire arrives shortly afterward, they give her sympathetic looks before they all prepare for the reveal of Akari's score. Sumire had placed 7th for her mistake, so now it's down to Hinaki or Akari for the Starlight Queen title. The board updates, and Akari takes the top spot. She's the official winner. Hinaki takes a moment to absorb the loss, then finds the will to smile and applaud her friend's victory. It's the right thing to do, and it puts both Jury and Sumire at ease next to her. She saves her feelings for her closing speech when they all go up on stage together. As the runner-up, Hinaki gives her speech last after all of her friends in the top 8. "To be honest," she begins, "my heart was pounding the entire time I was in the top spot. It's a bit disappointing that I ended up in 2nd. Actually, I'm really disappointed. So from now on, I'll Aikatsu with more passion than ever before. Thank you all so much." Hinaki is able to hold back her tears, and by the time they're congratulating Akari after the winner's ceremony, she's managed to collect herself. She makes sure to praise her friend for her hard work, support her at the after party, and help Sumire move some of Akari's things into her new, enormous Starlight Queen dorm. That night, while Akari is being interviewed, Hinaki and Sumire set up a scavenger hunt to surprise her in her new dorm. When Akari finally arrives, they stay up talking late into the night. The next morning, Hinaki and Sumire head out for a jog soon after Akari leaves for work. They're joined by Jury, and they all stop to admire the school's hall of statues commemorating accomplished alumni. Sumire asks if they think Akari will get a statue, but Hinaki pushes back on her phrasing. "We can't let her be the only one," she insists. But they're all already swept up in preparing celebrations and a birthday surprise for Akari, so the conversation ends there. Soon after those events, Akari starts working on a new unit debut with her hero, Ichigo. Luminous goes on hiatus while Kari goes on tour, and then they reunite at Starlight Academy's high school graduation concert. Not for their own graduation, but for Soleil's class of high school students. They perform a brand new song in honor of their seniors, give a heartfelt speech to the graduates, and then continue on with Luminous activities. If their vow to stay together is to be believed, they keep going all the way through their own high school graduation. If you are anything like me, this ending leaves you feeling vaguely unsatisfied. Sure, Hinaki says that she'll keep growing alongside Akari and Sumire, but the image of Hinaki eternally comparing herself to her unit members isn't exactly a comforting one. At least not in the context of Aikatsu as a series, where most characters end their stories alongside their closest companions. See, for Hinaki, that closest companion is Juri. Hinaki's core struggle as a character is finding the confidence to be true to herself. As a character who is always true to herself, even to a fault, Juri inspires and encourages Hinaki to be true to herself as well. She knows Hinaki's strengths, knows how to support her, and Hinaki is perfectly able to reciprocate that understanding and support. Hinaki gets something different from Akari and Sumire, or rather from Akari, since she never really connects with Sumire one-on-one. Hinaki is initially attracted to Akari because Akari represents what she could have been if she'd never lost her confidence. She looks to Akari for inspiration on how to go viral, how to be famous, and how to be the center of attention. When Hinaki agrees to join Luminous, she's low on confidence. She believes that Akari and Sumire are better than her, more popular than her, according to the public's votes. And it's not their friendship that motivates her to join them. It's the relief that they still want her, even though she's inferior to them. I doubt that it's intentional that Hinaki completely forgets about Juri at that point, but it's what the text of the show gives us to interpret. And for Hinaki to go from a deep gratitude for Juri's role in helping her change, to not even being able to think of her when Mikuru asked her to reflect on her career, it shows a profound shift in Hinaki's mindset. A complete fixation on the fame she has access to if she sticks with Luminous. One of the few staff quotes I found about Hinaki was a comment from series director Ryuichi Kimura in the Aikatsu official guidebook Akari Generation. In episode 177, he says, Hinaki's frustration that she won second place in the Starlight Queen Cup is a manifestation of her growth. The fact that she was able to be true to herself was as deeply moving as Akari being able to become the Starlight Queen. This quote troubled me when I first saw it, so let's unpack why. The comment references Hinaki's frustration at losing to Akari in the end. Hinaki has lost to Akari many times, all the way from their first Crepe campaign audition, to the Unit Cup, to the Starlight Queen Cup. In fact, she's never beaten her, or felt like she's ahead of Akari in any meaningful way. It's that frustration of being in Akari's shadow that drives her to stick so closely to her in the first place. The quote says that her frustration is a manifestation of her growth, but as we just discussed, Hinaki's frustration at lagging behind Akari is a constant throughout their relationship, so she doesn't gain any new insight by losing to her in the end. Just confirmation that in life, there will always be people who stay one step ahead no matter how hard you try. Now, the end of the quote makes all of this even more troubling. The fact that she was able to be true to herself was as deeply moving as Akari being able to become the Starlight Queen. What this is referring to is the conclusion Hinaki comes to after talking with Mikuru. The decision to release her insecurities and go wild. I agree that this is a moving decision. But what does it mean for Hinaki to stay true to herself? Who is Hinaki, really? And what does she want? What does she need? The narrative doesn't seem to know. Hinaki is both a competitive veteran idol constantly striving for fame, and a caring, passionate artist desperate to reconnect with her own creativity. Her story resolves only half of those desires, the half represented by Luminous, her competitive need for fame. The half represented by Juri, her love for her work and friends, is abandoned by the story. So is it as deeply moving as Akari becoming Starlight Queen? If you know my more cynical perspective on those events, then I would say sure. They both share a hollowness that I think is equivalent. Hinaki initially wanted to be famous to be worthy of her parents' attention, and in the end, she wants to become more famous in order to become worthy of Akari's attention. It's not a comforting resolution of her trajectory in life, and I think that's why it feels so vaguely unsatisfying. Since this is the conclusion to my Luminous Deep Dive series, I think I've fully untangled my mixed feelings about the Akari generation. The problem isn't necessarily the characters, but the mixed messaging between a reverence for the original season and the unique direction of the new cast. It's why the main trio feels so weak narratively to me. while the supporting cast feels a lot more engaging. Director Kimura says in the Aikatsu official guidebook Akari Generation, due to the convenience of the scenario, Hinaki was given various roles such as an explanation role and a senior role. At the time, I thought it was really good. Hinaki does what she does because she needs to teach Akari, or show that Akari is an inspiration to even established idols. Hinaki is inspired by Soleil alongside her friends because the audience misses Soleil, and wants them to remain integral to the main story. Which is the same reason that Hinaki agrees to form Luminous and forgets about Juri. Because Hinaki needs to be best friends with Akari and Sumire, just like Ron was best friends with Ichigo and Aoi. They all need to become Starlight Queen because everyone in the original season wanted to be Starlight Queen, supposedly. It's all meant to continue the legacy of past characters and past storylines, rather than serve the new characters who are meant to be driving their own stories. These decisions ultimately weaken the overall story arc, but they were made for a reason. Because deep down, the staff were worried that their change of protagonist and main cast would upset people, that they wouldn't be accepted if they didn't stick to what their audience originally enjoyed. That as the third and fourth seasons continued to decline in viewership, they needed to be more and more like the fresh new series they'd been when they first started out, just like Hinaki's own deeply rooted insecurities. So for that reason, I think she represents the struggles of her generation the most. Thank you so much for watching. Nobody asked for a Hinaki deep dive, but I knew I wouldn't get any closure on my Luminous thoughts without talking about her. Let me know your thoughts about Hinaki and the Akari generation in the comments below, and keep an eye out for more video updates in my community tab. Bye bye!
Okay, okay, okay! Yeah!